So I'm working on a project for my client, Natural Skincare, and they've asked me to put together a design for an email newsletter that they're sending out, that they regularly send out. So I've worked through a bit of a process here. I've started with worked out what they want in their email newsletter, put together a bit of a sketch for myself and something to show the client. I'm going to work on a mock-up for the client for them to get a good understanding of actually what it's going to look like before I then move on to build out this newsletter in HTML and CSS and the assets that I require. Right now, I'm going to be putting together this mock-up, working through a demonstration of how I would put together a mock-up like this in Photoshop. So let's start that build. I'm going to make a new document, and I'm going to make a new document. I might call it mockup. I'm going to make it 1,000 pixels across by 1,700 pixels high. I'm not going to create artboards today, but artboards is a great feature for doing mockups that you should look into. I'm going to work in RGB color, of course, and my color profile is going to be sRGB, square pixel aspect ratio. Create that document. All right, so that's a good canvas to work in. Generally, when we design an email, we work at a width, not always, but quite often the width is 600 pixels for the body of the email itself. So I'm going to set together or work out some guides so that I can kind of work within those constraints. So I'm going to turn on my guides there. My guides are set to pixel increments. I can change that under preferences, units and rulers. So when building stuff for the web, obviously we're working in pixels. I'm going to pull out a guide to about 200 if I can. And a guide to about 800. That'll have to do. I could also do that numerically under View, New Guide. That'll get it a bit more precise. And maybe a guide at about 40 on the top to give us a little bit of padding. The top there. All right, so that's given us a nice kind of framework, one column grid to work in. I'm going to start with the background color. I'm using a solid color fill layer. I'm going to set it to a grey color in the background there. I want a main panel in the center of my design to kind of house the body of my content. And I'm going to do that with a shape, which is a rounded rectangle. I'm going to set the color to white. And I'm also going to set the radius of that to around about 25. I think that might work. And then draw out my rectangle like so. It's looking good. Side those guides. Now I want a kind of a header at the top of my newsletter to display the company logo. And drag out another guide. I don't know, around about 180. I think that'll work quite well. I want to create a green header. I'm going to do that by creating a shape layer built out of a mask. I'm going to hold the Command key down and just click on my shape here and load up a selection of that background panel that I've got. I'm going to fill that with, well, I'm going to make a solid layer out of that selection. I'm going to pick a green color kind of randomly. I might go back and adjust this green color. For this hexadecimal value 009E34, it's kind of working for me at the moment. I might check that when I bring my logo in. Click OK. Now I want to constrain that, just turning off my guides command colon. Turn them back on. I'm going to make a selection so I can kind of crop that shape just with the normal selection tool. Like so. And I'm going to go into my mask here, clicking Option, clicking into the mask. And if I fill that with black, edit, fill, black, click OK, and then go back out into my workspace. Got a nice green header. I think my grey is a little bit dark. I'm just going to change that. Great thing about solid layers is that it's always editable. I'm sure you guys are learning about that. I'm going to save this document to the desktop, call it mockup. I'm going to bring in my logo now. Just tab over to Illustrator. Just going to check what that green is. I'll grab that green value, head back to Photoshop, and I'm just going to update that green. That makes me think that my grey should be a bit darker. Yeah, that's looking better. Okay, back over here in Illustrator, I've got my kind of vector artwork for this company. I'm going to grab the logo and I'm going to copy that vector, tab back over to Photoshop, and I'm going to paste that, and I'm going to paste it as a shape layer. Click OK. And because my foreground color was white, pasted that shape in as a white shape. Command T, bring the size down so that it fits appropriately up here. Zoom in. Something like that. I'm just going to go back to my design. I think it needs to be a little bit bigger than that, actually. Actually, I think I need the horizontal version of that logo, so I'm just going to go and correct that. Over to Illustrator again, and just make sure I get the right one, copy that, and paste that as a shape layer again, and delete the old one. Oops. Alright, that's looking a little bit better, a little bit more proportioned. Always good to name your layers. All right, let's bring some text in. I'm just going to toggle over to my text document. You'll be provided with some text. Add just this top element. I might bring in a guide for my text. Do that. That's better. Paste that text in. Now I'm going to be using Montserrat and not exactly sure. Yes, Montserrat and Voltage are the typefaces that I'm going to choose or have chosen, and they're both available as Adobe fonts, so load them in. I need to make that font size a little bit bigger, something like that, and maybe space out the leading a little bit. That'll do. We're going to make, so I already had Montserrat loaded up there. Voltage is the kind of display font. There it is. For this design, I want to make it a lot bigger. Awesome, and the color we're going to choose is this green. And we might make some space below it. So that we've got a bit of padding there. Maybe not so much. Looking good. Let's make the Dear Reader a little bolder. The bold. Awesome. Now we want to pop a picture in here, I think, and we're going to use the frame tool. And this is great for making mock-ups in Photoshop, in that you kind of it's quite flexible and editable. It creates a frame that you can insert an image in, and you can change that out if you need later on. Let me just go over to Unsplash and look for an image to insert. Something appropriate. Maybe this image here. I'm going to download that. Okay, good. So I can just grab that file that I've downloaded and insert it inside that frame, which I think is really, really useful, particularly for making mock-ups. We need some more text, I think, so let's continue on with our columns of text here. Also make that a kind of a grey colour. Set it back to regular. Create a bit of paragraph spacing, I think. Not so much for this paragraph here because that's a set of bullet points. And coming through here we've got some headings, so I'm going to make that a bold heading and colour pick it to that green. Might increase the font size a little bit. And bold out that company name a little bit. Okay, that's looking good. I mean, of course, I could spend a little bit more time on the text there. There's a few problems that I can see because I'm rushing. Haven't included any decent. In fact, I can't let that go. A couple of things I want to do. Just check what that color is. Yeah, I'm going to copy that color. Go OK, and just make sure that this text is the same color. Just pasting that hex number in there. So that's looking better, and the spacing between these two paragraphs. I think we had 16. So that's looking a bit better. Awesome. Getting close to finishing this off. Just want this white panel here to be a little bit shallower. So I'm going to grab the direct selection tool so I can grab these points in my vector shape there. Just bring them up, tidy that up a little bit. Then I need a final text box down the bottom here for our kind of footer information. That over. Paste that into position. Tighten that up a little bit. And there you have it. There's my email newsletter design mocked up, ready to show my client.